Okay, hello everyone. My name is Tinarsih Sri Hutami, and in this occasion, I would like to give you a presentation about gender bias in the world of Indonesian labor system. So, the first thing first, we have to know about gender bias itself. So, according to the Pendidikan Sosiologi UNY site, uh, bias is an impartial or adverse condition, while gender is a trait that is inherent in men and women who are constructed socially and culturally. And according to the Cambridge Dictionary, gender bias is an unfair difference in the way women and men are treated. So, why does it happen? Well, it's because patriarchal system that is rooted in Indonesian culture. If there is a gender bias in a system, obviously it is influenced by the culture in which the system works. In Indonesia, one culture that is very much attached is patriarchal culture. According to Wikipedia, patriarchy is a social system where men play an important and dominant role, where men have a role as the main control in society, whereas women have little or no influence in many aspects. This causes women to be placed in a subordinate or inferior position. Okay, another cause is open-mindedness. Well, open-mindedness is a way of thinking where you realize that everyone has their own thoughts and is willing to open up to discuss, listen, and accept all the different thoughts. When someone is not able to have an open-mindedness, there will be a reluctance to accept and learn something new or new things. And in this case, many Indonesians do not understand if Indonesian society is so wrapped up in a patriarchal culture which more or less influences our system. And if people are less able to have an open-mindedness, then this gender bias will continue to last, which will lead to other more complex discrimination. And okay, another cause is work protection. What I will highlight here is the protection of the government against female workers through its law. From various sources that I gather in the draft law of the Omnibus Law, the provisions listed in Article 93, Chapter 4, concerning employment of the Employment Bill, Article 93, Paragraph 1, regulates that wages are not paid if workers do not do work. This means that even though female workers are on leave such as maternity leave, menstrual leave, and breastfeeding permits while working, which means that they do not do their work, the company are not required to provide wages or salaries. In fact, the wage rights for all the laborers, whether they have uh, leave or not, have been regulated in Article 84 of the employment law in in the what in the law number 13 of 2003, entitled to get a full wage. This is called the lack of protection of women workers and is a clear example of gender bias in the labor system. Well, this draft law, if later officially passed, will discriminate against female workers. Well, many of you may be wondering what are the forms of the gender bias that lead to complex discrimination. The first is the dominant discrimination in wages. Well, based on the data from the Central Statistic Agency in 2019, until February 2019, the average wage of female workers was smaller than the wage of male workers. The disparity in the payment of wages between men and women is indeed actually a classic problem from the beginning until now, because the cause of this gap is actually caused by many female workers that are placed in jobs that are considered light compared to male workers. So it makes companies give the wages smaller than male workers' wages. Uh, Despite women are also considered not as a family breadwinners, and they are a subordinate part of men. This is inseparable from the patriarchal culture that is deeply rooted in Indonesian society, like I said before. Um, Even though there are many women workers who play a role as breadwinners for their families and work in equal portions as men. The next is job opportunities. Well, female workers are often given lighter jobs than male workers, as I said in the previous slide. This is caused by the assumption that women must be first gentle, second they must be polite, and must be graceful. So, because all of these assumptions, it is true that both men and women should not be given work that is too heavy that will cause them to overworking. But the problem is that often the small or light work that is given to women workers will later affect the wages provided. So these three factors are related each other. Okay, next is career opportunities. Women workers are often difficult to get better and develop and to get better and developing career opportunities. As mentioned by Daulay in 2006, the stereotype of men that they are stronger and rational makes male workers get a higher level of work, while female workers do not get the same opportunities because they are considered as emotional and have little education uh, experience like that. Okay, and the last is protection systems and how protection system. Well, as you can see from the slide, it is a case from uh, ice cream company in Indonesia. The case that occurred at the ice cream company showed that the weak protection of health and protection of women workers is very worse. This is certainly very detrimental and threatens the safety of women workers. Well, what can we do? Actually, only there's nobody but us that able to change the system and also the custom, which are very gender biased and this discrimination. We can start from small things by increasing our literacy, becoming more sensitive person, always watching the labor system along with its protections such as law and everything. Uh, don't be quiet, like we have to be brave to speak when there is a discrimination or injustice around us, and also uh, not to be someone who is concerned with only our personal interests above common interests. As said by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, a Nigerian writer, culture does not make people, people make culture. If it is true that the full humanity of women is not our culture, then we can and must make it our culture. Well, I think that's all for my presentation today. Thank you for all the appreciation and the attention. Thank you very much. See you on the next occasion. Goodbye.